And we're back for another episode of Startup Hustle, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. If you want to start, own, or build a business, then you're in the right place. We bring you the real truth about what it's like to take something from concept to launch. From growth, innovation, experience, failing, or winning big, we've got you covered. So let's get down to business with another episode of Startup Hustle, brought to you by Fullscale.io.
All right, friends, thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode of the Startup Hustle podcast. I'm Lauren Conaway, founder and CEO of InnovateHerKC, and we are excited to let you know that today's episode of Startup Hustle is sponsored by Fullscale.io, helping you build a software team quickly and affordably. Today we have with us Corene Summers with Artisan Farmacy, and she is here to talk to us about mindfulness and her entrepreneurial journey and wellness and all kinds of tasty little nuggets. So we're going to dive right into it. Corene, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yay. So I have been really excited about this particular episode because I think that health and wellness is very much top of mind for people these days, given what's going on in the world with COVID-19 and all that. So really excited to talk to you. And I want to jump right into it. I'm just going to ask you, tell us how you got to do what you do, and talk to us about your journey.
Oh man, let me tell you, it has absolutely been a journey and one that I never expected. My dad was a financial advisor, and I worked in his office when I was in high school, and so I was kind of set up to be a financial advisor. I took all my licensing exams, and started in a firm in Washington, D.C. in my early 20s and was really excelling in finance and thought that that was literally what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I was good at math, good at numbers. I really loved working with people and was really successful at it. And like I said, thought it was going to be something that I did forever. And then I got really sick and was dealing with a lot of intense stress in my life. I took a little hiatus between two jobs, and I traveled for 4.5 months in India and Nepal and Sri Lanka and Tibet, and I studied all of these different tools for wellness. Like I said, I was kind of sick at the time. I was in the process of being diagnosed with some autoimmune issues, which then later turned out to actually be undiagnosed Lyme disease, which we can possibly dig into more later. But it was kind of like, I was in a really stressful time and was dealing with, like I said, the impact of the stress of my job and the stress of this illness. And then I took this trip and I was studying wellness and meditation and yoga and using food as a way to heal and support mind body health. And the more I started diving into those tools for healing and well-being for myself, and then was seeing the impact, my stress reducing, excelling in thriving more in my life, being able to start to recover from a lot of the issues I was going through, I started to just share this knowledge with anybody that I could, and started getting all of my licensing exams for yoga, becoming a yoga certified teacher and a meditation instructor, studying Ayurveda, and moving in that direction on the side as a side hustle. So it really started as like something that I was doing on my weekends and spending my evenings after I got back from that trip and went back to my finance job. And then so that was in 2012, that big trip. And then in 2016, I decided to go full time and launched my wellness coaching business. So it was kind of a lot of stressful events that led me to this passion that was completely unexpected, and it's the best decision I've ever made. I've never looked back.
That is awesome. So talk to us a little bit about the mechanics and the specifics of your practice. So you talked about yoga, you talked about so meditation. What other tools and tricks are kind of in your toolbox that you share with your clients?
Well, these days I primarily work with entrepreneurs and small business owners. So I've actually gotten away from I don't do as much yoga anymore. It's a very small part of my coaching practice. And I've gotten a lot more into more the business coaching side of things. And it's primarily mindset. So the mindset of an entrepreneur, the mindset of somebody that is thriving in all capacities of their life, overcoming their traumas and whatever stressful events have happened in their life, and creating more clarity around their goals and what they want to achieve, and then moving towards attracting more of what they want. So I work a lot with meditation and mindfulness tools, and also diet. So this is one of the main foundations I've discovered, is just it's an integral part of success in all areas of our lives, all spheres of our lives. Strong mind, strong body leads to more success in, like I said, every capacity of our business. So I use myriad tools from my studies in ancient wellness, and they're all kind of about, reducing or releasing stress and things that are holding us back or causing challenges and struggle in our life, and moving towards our goals with clarity and inner power.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we love inner power here at Startup Hustle. So one of the concepts that I found really, really intriguing about what you do and wanted to talk to you about was this concept of a soul client. What is a soul client?
So I believe in entrepreneurship, and anybody that wants to start something, we're doing it for a reason. I mean, for me, it was, these really traumatic health experiences I went through, being sick and being in a really bad place. It was overcoming those challenges in my life that created this passion and desire to help others create the same transformation in their lives. Whoever you are as an entrepreneur, whatever it is you're doing it for a reason. Something motivated you, something triggered you, something pushed you towards that transformation and towards wanting to share this great knowledge that you have and this great gift with the world. And so I believe that, each of us are meant to work with a certain group of people. And, we were doing this for a reason, to help a certain group of people. But too often in entrepreneurship, we get carried away with, taking whatever business comes up for us, or, whatever referrals might come our way, or just kind of grasping at straws. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and in the chaos of the world around us, and especially with social media and the way digital marketing has become the bread and butter of really any successful business. There's so many different areas that you could focus on. It's easy to become caught up in decision overwhelm and completely get lost in the different avenues and different ways that you can market yourself. And so I always go back to, who are you? Why are you doing what you're doing? And who are you here to serve? You, uniquely you. You have to be the decider as an entrepreneur. You decide who you want to work with. And then from there, when you're really strong and anchored in who you serve, you're then able to attract them through everything else that you do. And that's how you get away from, create more clarity around those kinds of business decisions, and get away from, getting lost, like I said, in the hustle or the overwhelm of all the different options that are available to us out there in this digital age. Because it always comes back, it's going to be unique to everyone. Everyone is going to be needing to do slightly different activities, or working in a slightly different area based on who it is they're here to serve. So I call these our soul clients, who you really want to work with. This is like when you close your eyes and you're dreaming about your business, and you're in that like sweet space where you can just, your whole body is buzzing because you just feel so alive with, working with this particular group of people. And when you're imagining the future of your business, this is who you see yourself connecting with. So that's your soul client. You have to know who they are before you can attract them into your space.
Absolutely. And so I think it sounds like you might believe in the power of attraction, being strong in yourself and understanding who you are and what you do and why you do it in order to attract like-minded people. What do you do personally to center yourself and to find that truth that can attract others?
It's all of the different techniques that I've sort of referenced already, coming together to build what I call my inner armor. Those practices and the rituals that I've created for myself, and also create, as I'm working with my clients, we co-create rituals that work for them. Something a little bit different works for everybody, but for me, it's a combination of um, a little bit of mindful flowing yoga and mantras and affirmations that I repeat to myself, and meditation, clearing my mind of all the chaos and all the stuff out there in the world around me to come back to my center, who I am, and again, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and who I feel I'm here to serve and support in the world. Um, so, I know just like a silly thing, but when I'm working with my entrepreneur clients, like a really common theme I find is that when they wake up first thing in the morning, the first thing they do is they look at their phone and check all of their messages in all the different categories: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, email, text message. It is so easy. When you do that, you get yourself off track instantly. Like you instantly like dump all of these different triggers and sensations onto your plate. And I like that is the first step to derailing your day. I truly believe this. The mindset of an entrepreneur, success mindset, and it starts with the morning ritual. I mean, you hear this. I'm not the first person to say this, right? I mean, hundreds of successful motivational speakers and CEOs and gurus and leaders and athletes all around the world say this again and again. Yet, for some reason, many of us still get caught up in that rat race of instantly getting sucked into your to-do list. And it's not the way to go if you want to be in that realm of attraction and alignment. And those two things are really important for building a successful business. 100%.
That's awesome. And I have to tell you, like, as you're talking, I'm just totally recognizing myself in what you're saying. So what's an example or a couple examples of mantras or affirmations that people can say to themselves in order to recenter and start the day off right?
Okay, so if you want to start changing your life, one ritual you can do: turn on turn your phone on airplane mode before you go to bed. All right, that's step one. The night before,
Okay.
phone on airplane mode. Your alarm will still go off. There's no problem there. When you wake up in the morning, don't turn it off airplane mode yet. Grab your phone, turn your alarm on, or a timer on for like 5 minutes, and you can repeat some affirmations to yourself. There are tons out there. And actually, if anybody from this podcast wants to send me an email, which you'll be able to find in the show notes on my website, if you want to connect with me, I'll send you a free copy of my affirmations guide to anybody from Startup Hustle as a special gift for you. This is usually something I share with my private clients, but since we're talking about it and it's really hard to share a lot of affirmations on a podcast, definitely send me that email, and I'm happy to share that with you guys. But one of the most simple ones is that I love is my mind has unlimited power. This is like one that I use to like really get myself going when I'm find myself in any like limiting beliefs or beating myself up like you're a failure, you never have success in anything. We all get there some from time to time. When I catch myself in those thoughts, I'm like, no, switch it and reverse it, flip the script. My mind has unlimited power. And I'll just say that to myself, or I might tell myself I'm brilliant, or that I completely accept myself. I deeply, completely love myself. I deeply, completely accept myself. It sounds silly, but these little things make a big difference. This is what layers into our subconscious, which is where we actually start to take action. It impacts our emotions, the way we feel about ourselves. It impacts the action and the way we show up, which, as we all know, showing up, step one to reaching your goals. It's amazing when you start doing these affirmation practices, actually, you start to realize how many negative thought patterns you might have created over the years. And this is a way to like rewire your brain for success.
That's amazing. I love that. My mind has unlimited power. All right. So just so you know, I'm probably going to borrow that at some point. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your generous offer. I love it. So let me ask you this. I want to delve a little bit more deeply into into a piece of your journey that you mentioned. You said that you went through a period of time where you were sick, and that a lot of what you're doing today is a direct result of that. So talk to us a little bit about that piece of the journey more in depth. I'm sure that you were struggling at that point, and I'd be really curious to hear how some of these practices and some of these things that you're doing were able to kind of pull you out of what had to have been a very tough spot.
Yeah, it was a really hard, horrible time in my life, but I'm grateful for it today because I probably wouldn't be sitting here and doing what I'm doing now in my life, which I love so much. I'm so grateful and so happy to be able to share the knowledge and wisdom that I have with others as a coach. And I never imagined being so fulfilled in my life. So I want to say that first because I am grateful, even though it was a really, really hard journey. Um, and sometimes beautiful things come out of our struggles, and it's actually been pretty cool to see that so many other wellness entrepreneurs. I work a lot with other wellness entrepreneurs or conscious entrepreneurs, and so many of them started businesses because of a problem or a struggle that they had, and they were passionate about it because they struggled and they wanted to share what helped them with others. And for me too, it's like I first had Lyme disease in 2010, and I was diagnosed with it then. I had gone on a hiking trip in the Shenandoah Mountains, and a few days later, I had like the ring rash. I had found a tick on me, and so I went. They put me on antibiotics, told me I would be fine. Long story short, 8 years later, I was diagnosed with it again, and so I've been struggling this entire time, and I technically still have it. I have what's called post. Um, it's like chronic. It's called chronic Lyme sometimes, or I forget what it's called, post Lyme syndrome or something. It's the immune system basically creates a permanent response and negative response in the body. And so you continue to experience symptoms, and it can last, it can go into remission and come back and all these crazy things. If it were not for the practices that I do in my daily life, I would not feel well. If I didn't, I quit eating dairy, I quit eating gluten, I drink very little alcohol. I went completely toxin free in all of my cleaning and like household products, and meditation, yoga, mindfulness practices. I mean, meditation completely changed my life. During that period of time and being so sick, it was lonely, I was stressed, I was sad, and it was committing to these practices was like recommitting to myself, and that I was worthy of health, that I was worthy of having a future life after being so sick. And I don't know, I just clawed my way up. I was so dedicated to these practices day after day after day, and they slowly ripple effect changed my entire life. Um, and now I notice, like, if I get away from these practices, these tools, these rituals that I've created in my daily life, when I get away from them, I don't feel so good anymore. And they keep me strong, they keep my mind sharp, they keep my body strong, and they allow me to continue to run my business and thrive and be successful at it and have fun and feel at peace, and I can sleep again and all of those good things. So whether you're somebody's out there that's struggling, trying to run a business and are struggling with your health in some way or something else, there are always things that we can do to get ourselves back on track. I truly, truly believe that.
Awesome. Well, and so when you were getting started, were the people in your life largely supportive? Did you have naysayers, people who just didn't understand why you were transitioning from this, kind of traditionally accepted finance career into something that was, so I mean, being an entrepreneur is risky. What was that like?
Oh, I had so many naysayers. Leaving a very comfortable finance job that I was excelling at, I had a lot of people telling me that, or questioning. So, why do you want to do this again? And have to claw your way up as an entrepreneur. And I just had this vision. I think that going, all the practices I was doing to, like all the meditation practices I was doing to work through my issues and heal different challenges or traumas and struggles that I've dealt with to improve my health. As I went through all of that, I became more connected to myself and who I am. I became more connected to my passions and the things that light me up in life. And this was when I started to realize, okay, I started to feel very called to sharing everything that I had learned and to taking this new path. And those messages and those gut feelings were so strong. I was able to stand up to everybody and say, I don't care about the money. I don't care about, the benefits. And it's time for me to let this go and jump into this new territory. And it would have been really easy for me to not do that because I had, family members and friends and all of my colleagues and coworkers in the finance industry who I had been connected to for, I've been doing this since I was basically a kid working in my dad's financial planning office. So I had a lot of mentors and people in my life that were from the finance world, and they definitely did not understand it. And what I realized is some of it was their fear. Other people are afraid to take that leap and to take that jump. And that's okay. They can be there if we're all on our own unique journey, and the timing is different for each of us, especially as an entrepreneur, of when to take that leap. But I just knew and I trusted my gut, and because of all of the practices that I was doing to stay connected to myself and to go after what I wanted and further develop my passions and seek peace and joy in my life, it was those things were so strong, and I knew I would find it on this path. So I finally just, went for it.
You just did it. You just did it.
I just did it.
What
about you? I'm curious. Can I ask?
I sure. I mean, this is your show, my friend.
What made you decide to take your leap?
You know, I've always been a little bit of an entrepreneur. I've always had a side hustle. Us entrepreneurs love our side hustle. But I was working for an organization that actually served entrepreneurs here in Kansas City, and I just fell in love with entrepreneurs and startup founders because I enjoy the passion and resourcefulness that I see in these individuals, and I always kind of wanted to emulate that. But with InnovateHerKC, I ultimately made the leap um, totally by accident. This community that I had started through, fate and happenstance was growing really, really quickly, and I was really only giving it about 10% of my attention because, I had my day job that I loved. I loved my day job, but I was only giving it 10% of my attention. And then I had an epiphany. I was like, if all of this is happening and all of this growth is occurring and there's this clear and demonstrated need, what would happen if I were to give 100%, 110% of my attention? What could we accomplish? And so that was the question that kind of was ringing in my mind when I took the leap, quit my job, and started doing InnovateHerKC full time. Interesting. People don't actually usually ask me questions during this, so that's I'm a little bit in the hot seat. That was funny. Thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, I love, as you know, I work with entrepreneurs, and I love hearing an entrepreneur's journey. It's like my favorite part of what I do. Everybody's so unique, and I love hearing about why did you do it, and what made you just decide to go for it. Because at some point you just have to take the leap and trust yourself, trust yourself enough that, like you were saying, okay, what happens if I give this 110%? Like, you believed in yourself enough to know, okay, I can do this. And let's see what happens when I give it my all.
So
And just having that trust.
Yeah, there's this Kurt Vonnegut quote that I've always loved, and I'm sure most people have heard it, but it's something along the lines of you have to jump off cliffs and grow wings on the way down. And I really think that that's kind of what being an entrepreneur is. Like there is no certainty in being an entrepreneur, but you make that leap and you trust that you're going to grow your wings and you're going to figure it out and you're going to make it happen because you believe strongly enough in what you're doing that faith just kind of propels you forward. And I love that.
And space, I mean, think about, okay, what does an entrepreneur fundamentally do? They create. You're a creator.
Yeah.
Creating something. And what do you need to create? Space. You can only do it actually in that empty space. If it's full of stuff, if it's full of other responsibilities or too many thoughts, or um, trying to go after even like too many goals at the same time, you don't have enough space to be truly in that creation state.
Yeah. Well, so that actually it's a nice segue into the next question that I wanted to talk to you about, or the next topic that I wanted to talk to you about, which was the entrepreneurial success mindset. It's something that you've mentioned and we've kind of talked around, but I want to delve a little bit more deeply into that. So, what does the entrepreneurial success mindset look like to you?
Well, this is resilience at its finest, right? The ability to stay committed and keep showing up for yourself day after day after day, regardless of the winds around you. Um, so there's this concept that I love that I had read about in a book when I was in India, and I spent 11 days in silence in an ashram. Crazy what comes
Wow.
crazy what comes up when you're silent with yourself for 11 days. um, but I did do a little bit of reading. You're not supposed to like do too much of that, but I did do a little bit of reading, and I read about this idea of being like the blue flame. Okay, so just bear with me for a minute. The blue flame, all right, in any flame, the blue center part of the flame is completely still. It's like the hottest part of the flame, and it stays completely still despite the winds of the world around it. So if you blow on the flame, the yellow part of the flame, it'll flicker, it'll move, it'll dance. But the blue part of the flame actually remains completely still. And so it was this concept of, that we must be like, that this is the ultimate goal of all of these practices and of a human life in transformation and growth and ultimate enlightenment, is that we can achieve this peacefulness, this stillness from the inside out, that no matter what happens, you have, a few calls with potential clients, they don't go the way you want, something falls through, your computer doesn't work that day, you have to, move your website to a new platform. I mean, the millions of things that come up, hiring people to work with you, firing people that work with you, all of these different things that can happen on the outside, that they don't impact or affect your inner strength and your ability to stay peaceful and connected to what you're creating and to your ultimate goals and ultimate success. So there are all of these things that I've kind of talked about. I mean, meditation and mindfulness practices are the ones that, in particular, I use to help people build this success mindset. But it's just this idea, and like I said, it takes something a little bit different for everybody to get to this place of pure strength where they feel daily they wake up ready to go and to take action. Um, it takes all of these, it's all of these different techniques and practices on a daily basis to build that. Sorry, I got a
That's
little
amazing.
distracted from the original.
No, I love
I
that. And
ramble
I have
sometimes.
In addition to founder and CEO, I think you need to add master of the metaphor to your business cards. Just saying. I love the blue flame. And again, like you keep on giving me things that I'm going to be using in my daily life going forward.
Oh, good,
Uh,
good. That's my goal.
I love, yeah.
Um,
So
yeah, I don't know, but that's something that like sticks with me. That and the inner armor, like the blue flame, the inner armor, like those are things, and that I have unlimited power. Like those are the things that I use that really build me up when it's so easy to get knocked down. And I
sure.
think it's recognizing. I love this. I'm going to share another little tidbit that I use with my clients, which is for the success mindset, which is this ratio, a sales ratio I learned when I was in finance. They say that, and it really helped me with like if I wouldn't get a client, looking at each quote unquote failure as a success. So they say that for every 10 people you reach out to, 3 of them might take a meeting with you and 1 will become a client. So that basically means for every 10 numbers of outreach, maybe 1 person becomes a client. And this is like a general number that they used like 100 years of um, practice to create this ratio and say, hey, okay, this is roughly what it comes out to. Some people are a little more, some people might be a little bit less, but roughly for every 10 contacts, 1 person will become a client, 10%. So when we lose an opportunity, it's looking at it as a success. Like, okay, I'm one more, this is how I do it. I'm one more closer to my goal. That wasn't a soul client. They weren't aligned. It's okay. The next one will be. So I use that little reminder to myself a lot as well to stay resilient and on track. And it also helps me determine, okay, well, if I need this many clients this month, if I know that for every 10, I'm only going to maybe only one will become a client. And I will tell you my ratio is higher these days. It's taken a lot of work, but it's good. It gets higher and higher the more aligned I get to my own goals and ambitions. So, I look at it and I'm like, okay, that's fine. That was a success. These are all every outreach is a success, and that mindset has really helped me a lot because I know one thing that my entrepreneur clients come to me with a lot is like, how do you overcome when somebody doesn't want to work with you? Right?
Yeah, well, and I mean that's a problem that's a tale as old as time. Pretty much every entrepreneur is going to have to deal with that at some point or another. So kind of reframing that experience, I think is a really fantastic way to go about it. I love that. So tell me this. We've kind of talked about, success and failures. We've talked around it, but what is something that you or your business personally failed at?
Oh,
We're gonna get to the good part in just a second, but I want to
oh,
start there.
I love talking about failure. It's an integral part to success. So I am totally comfortable here. I'm actually trying to decide between two different things because, I think this is the message I want to share. So the main area that I have struggled, and honestly, even when I continue the problems that I have even, today, when I have issues, it's because I'm trying to do too much. It's always because I'm saying yes to too much and I'm trying to do too much and that I'm not um this is why I think that laser focus on who you serve, your why, you're doing what you're doing. It's very easy to become distracted out there. And I've lost clients or lost business because I didn't have the capacity to serve someone who actually was a soul client who I really wanted to work with. Like I've lost opportunities with people that I really wanted to work with. And I realized later in hindsight that it was because I was trying to do too much for other people. And so my message wasn't as clear as it needed to be to actually land that client. Because it muddles or clouds your message when you do that. When you try
Yeah,
to serve too many people, or when you try to be too when you're not really firm in this is what I do, this is who I am, this is what I want. And it's scary to be that vulnerable and to like really claim that for yourself. And I realize that can be a struggle, but when you claim it, doors open. When you're cloudy and you live in the gray area, it's very hard for people to understand exactly what you do and to be able to then connect with you and want to work with you or know the right people to refer to you. Um,
right.
so that was where I screwed up first. And if you want another one, I can share another one too.
Well, I mean, feel free. We would love to hear it.
Well, I think part of, on that note, part of it was, when I first started my business, I did a ton of events and I was doing my coaching, but then I was also doing a ton of events and I was doing them under a separate brand name called Namaste Rose.
Oh my gosh, I love that. But
Right.
go ahead.
And well, I had moved to Chicago from Seattle and I had like a lot of like really hippie, earthy yogi friends out, entrepreneur friends out in Seattle. And then when I moved to Chicago, I had a hard time like reconnecting to that part of my community, the like yogi. I was like, where do I find these people? And there's like a big drinking culture in Chicago, and nothing against it. I decided to bring these two things together into Namaste Rose. And so I would host these events at places, venues all over Chicago. Um, Outside at breweries, inside at places, on patios, in private event rooms. I did it for companies. I did it for networking groups. I did it them for the public. Um, all of these different things. But I will say that it wasn't truly aligned to what I wanted to do and who I wanted to serve and the kind of coaching that I really wanted to do. Um, it actually wasn't really aligned to what I wanted to do, and ultimately that part of my business did not. I was overtaken by my competition that eventually started in Chicago. But it was some really good learning lessons. And I would say that since that point, I have been significantly more aligned to what I actually really wanted to be doing with my business, which was always the artisan pharmacy part of it. Um, and, more of the healing, deep inner work and working with entrepreneurs. So it was a good lesson learned. And I had a
Yeah.
lot of fun running those events, to be honest.
Well, so now let's talk about the fun part. So, what would you say is your greatest success as an entrepreneur business owner?
Oh gosh. I mean, watching the transformation in my clients, watching them be successful and achieve their goals in the business is probably the most rewarding thing in the world. And um, my favorite thing about what I do, it's because I don't take credit for any of it. It's unlocking the unique person's own abilities. So seeing them own who they are and blossom, more deeply into the person that they want to be, and watching them take that action, and it's an absolutely most beautiful process. Um, and then probably all of the amazing partnerships that I have. I've been really blessed to work with some incredible companies, and now I have partnerships with an app called Wellness Coach. So you guys can join me there. It's free right now through COVID to sign up for the app. It's called Wellness Coach. You can download it in any app store in Apple or Android, and join us for live interactive classes as well as on demand classes and panels and all kinds of stuff. So I love working with them, my relationship with them. I've partnered with Entrepreneur Magazine and many other companies to bring these mindfulness and different coaching ideas to more people that need it. So it's been awesome to work with so many cool people that are just really doing good work in the world. And um, yeah, they've become my greatest teachers.
Yeah, I have to say I just love your attitude, and I'm sure that that comes from years of that mindfulness and mindset training that you've undertaken personally. So if you could give one piece of advice, like say that there's an entrepreneur out there who is ready to transform their mindset and change their lives. I mean, really that's what you're talking about. You're talking about very transformative behavior to completely change the way someone approaches life and business and what they do. If you could give them one piece of advice to get started, what would that be?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna do two because one is internal and one is external. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't be tamed. Um,
All right, I'll allow it.
because one is internal, trust yourself. Trust yourself. You are unique. Shut out the naysayers, shut out the winds of the world and what other people have to say about what you do. It doesn't matter at all. It's all about you, man. So tune in, listen to that inner voice, trust yourself, and hire help. That's the
Ooh.
external actionable. I've had a coach pretty much the entire time I've been in business. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a coach and I would love to work with you, but I would. Uh, Whether it's me or somebody else, get a coach. You need accountability and the support and the validation and the tools and techniques and that has been probably the best thing I've spent money on, and like other people to help with like different act like free, doing the work that I do, and eventually hiring um, freelancers and other people to work with me and do what they do best. But investing in yourself is another part of financially is another part of that attraction, and investing in your own worth. So you're worth it.
That is amazing. You're worth it. So I have one more question for you,
Okay.
and we talked about this on the front end.
Oh gosh,
So here it
the
comes.
hot seat.
I'm gonna ask you the weird question. Here it goes. What is the most unique or the strangest or the weirdest thing in your purse?
Oh, I think this is another area where I probably have to choose multiple. As
Man, you're just not letting us vibe it today. All right, go
I don't
ahead.
know.
Let's
Well,
hear it.
maybe it's I have a flask, like a flask that you would normally carry alcohol in, but I put I'm dairy free, as I mentioned. So I love pulling this out at restaurants. Because a lot of restaurants in Chicago don't have almond milk or coconut milk, and so I like to carry around dairy free milk in a
You have a flask of
case,
almond milk that you carry around with you.
just in case I
I
need
love
coffee and they don't have almond milk. I am covered because I also love coffee.
Okay, I have to tell you, like, I think that might be like, you've said a lot of really amazing stuff today, and I'm like, that might be my favorite. I'm just picturing you walking around with a flask of almond milk. That's amazing. Yeah, and I definitely think that that qualifies. So, because I have never met someone who carried around a flask of non-dairy product
That's
before.
another bonus
That's
tip for all my dairy-free peeps out there. You're welcome.
you're just giving away all the best advice. I love it. Well, I have to say, Corene, thank you so much for being with us here today. It has been a true pleasure, and I look forward to hearing from listeners who take on some of your advice. I hope that they reach out to you to your email to download your affirmations information. It's just been really cool chatting with you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you again for having me. This was a joy. I loved hearing your story, and you're wonderful. And thank you to all of our listeners for being here with us as well. Definitely send me that
Yeah,
email if you want a copy of the affirmations guide or want to connect in any other way. And yeah,
amazing. I love it. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind everyone that once again, today's episode of Startup Hustle has been sponsored by Fullscale.io. You can also find the Startup Hustle podcast on Instagram at Startup Hustle Podcast. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. And thanks so much for listening. Have a great week.